The following podcast will contain spoilers for all aired episodes in HBO's Game of Thrones and all published books in George R.R. Martin's A Song of Ice and Fire series.
Did you mention that Amber loved the wine and the Cersei?
But I know what he's referencing.
Welcome to the Vassals of Kingsgrave DragonCast edition. We are back this week to review the 10th and final episode of Game of Thrones Season 6, The Winds of Winter, directed by Miguel Sapochnik, written by David Benioff and D.B. Weiss. My name is Zach, also known as Alias on the forums, and joining me for this review we have...
Adam in real life, drownedsnow on the forums. Also, I'm really high on painkillers.
This is Steven, SJLee on the forums.
This is Paul, and I go by as Pod's Plight on the forums.
This is Drew, a.k.a. Wargasm on the forums.
This is Matt, Varley on the forums.
This is Greg, claudiusthefool on the forums.
This is Casey, Blue-Eyed Queen on the forums.
This is Small Paul, SerDinnerRoll on the forums.
This is Katie, LadyGriffin on the forums.
This is Jeff14 on the forums.
And that's it. That is all the peeps we got for this podcast. A ton as usual. That's the way that we do it here at DragonCast. So yeah, we're going to get into this last episode. A lot to discuss, for sure. In the Winds of Winter, a lot happened, a lot of interesting stuff, a lot of crazy, wacky, off-the-wall stuff. But first we have to talk about how we felt about it, starting with you, Adam. How would you rate this episode? The final one.
How many Vicodins?
It would be like 5 crushed Vicodins in some sort of alcoholic beverage, and
okay.
out of 5.5.
I picture you in a full body cast laying down with just like your eyes stuck out of a...
There's a sippy cup with a straw like attached to his mouth.
You got computer. The mic
It
hanging
sounds more
down.
like a needles in his arm.
No, it's ice cream, because they had to take my tonsils.
Is it ethical to be recording with him
This
right
might
now?
not be a good idea.
No, this is good. I appreciate Adam's devotion to the podcast.
Oh, I'll probably be asleep in 20 minutes.
Will the lead-in just be all the things Adam says while high on his meds?
You made the cut though, Adam. You Matt and Katie are the three who made it to every.
It's like Cal Ripken Jr., starting an inning and then, taking the day off, to keep the streak going.
Yep.
But yeah, it was a really good episode despite, the bad time management. So
There you go. And Steven, what did you think?
I'd give it 4.5 out of 5. I really enjoyed this episode. I thought it was fantastic. Any of the little nitpicks gets swept aside by the really excellent content that was in the episode. I know there have been complaints about the length, but I think that's just a simple matter of, because they did number 9 the way they did, anything pushed into that episode would have been forgotten and left aside. So I think they did a good job of concluding everything kind of all at once.
Mm-hmm. That's reasonable. And Paul?
I give it a 5. Minor quibbles with how things played in the North, but so beautifully directed and scored. It was very well done. One of the best episodes they've ever done.
There you have it. And Drew, your first DragonCast. What is your first time rating? Here?
That will round me out to 2.5 because I still haven't changed my... I have this little thing called standards in writing and expectations, and I don't know. Every time that I got to a point, I know. That was my problem. If I didn't burden myself with that, I visually and everything, it was beautiful. Like there were parts in this that were great where I was behind it, but I don't know. There's so much of it fell down for me that I couldn't give it more than halfway up the rating. I basically gave it points for every point that, for everything that it did right, and then I took away for everything, and it had Dorne in it, so it was kind of doomed.
Yeah. I've read plenty of good arguments about why this episode kind of dropped the ball in a lot of ways, and I'll be curious to see what you make of that and what you think were the reasons why it didn't succeed in those areas. But yeah, Matt, what did you think?
Guys, 5 out of 5. I mean, it right out of the gate, we got the direwolf back in the Winterfell set in the title sequence. Like, yes, like the whole time, like I was saying earlier, like the first time I was like fist pumping during the viewing, and then like the second viewing, I was like, oh my god, this is really, really fucking sad. And then I paid more attention to the score on the second viewing, and the score is just like haunting. So yeah, it's great. We'll get into it more, but I loved it.
Sadly, there was the direwolf is there, but then there's no actual direwolf in the episode.
Yeah, I completely forgot
you can't
about
have
Ghost. Ghost is supposed to be there, right?
Nah.
Ghost is at Castle Black going, when am I getting fucking fed? Like, these guys have been all...
I'm sure Dolores is feeding me. Don't worry.
Yeah,
Dolores. Oh, that's right.
Dolores. Yeah, it's Dolores, Greg.
Dolores.
Yeah, I loved it. I'll give it a 5 also for any little nitpicks I had. There were a couple, but just like Matt said, the fist pumping, and like I was so into the episode, and not just because it was uncharted territory, but it actually, like getting the King of the North stuff at the end, I didn't see that coming at all. That's not where I think it's going in the books, and just to get it was, I mean, I really loved it, and Manderley gets all the lemon cakes. I mean, even if it was a shit episode, we still had Wyman Manderley, and it was amazing.
And Frey Pie.
And you get the Frey Pie. I get all this like they gave a lot of fan. They gave the fans a lot of stuff that probably isn't going to happen in the show, in the books. But I loved it. And,
because Manderley and Frey Pies already happened in the books.
No, but just like Arya cutting the Frey's neck. I mean, that's like our dream, but who knows? And Dorne was not as terrible as it could have been. So that's
a fact.
Yeah, because Elena made him shut up.
Yes, right. She did what we wanted them to do.
Even beyond the fan call-out moments, there were a lot of meta moments like that, too, where it felt like the characters were doing stuff that the audience wanted. Casey, what did you think?
I gave it like a 4.8. I really love this episode, especially the music, and like what everybody else was saying, a lot of fan service stuff and a lot of reveals. But it's just the Sansa stuff that bothers me, as everybody knows. So we'll get into it later, but yeah.
Small Paul, what did you think?
I gave it a 4.8 out of 5. Once because everyone knows that I'll never give D&D a 5 out of 5. But I really love this episode. Wildfire explosions, I could fall asleep to those.
That's weird.
Yeah, it is. I'm the Mad King, basically.
Wildfire's so hot right now.
It's so hot. But essentially what I really liked was just seeing the Northern Lords and Lyanna Mormont being the little badass as per usual. Yeah, it was all in all just a really great episode.
Very cool. Katie, what did you think?
I'll give it a 5. It's the first episode in many a season that I've actually stayed up to rewatch again after Veep came on. It was a fun episode. It was a good episode and compelling, and I thought the first 25 minutes, even though I had some reservations, were absolutely masterful and suspenseful and emotional, even though we lost beautiful Natalie Dormer. That I almost wanted to take a point off from that.
Yeah.
We also lost the High Septon, so that evens it out.
And Loras, that was... Yeah, I almost wanted to take a point off for the gratuitous carving of Loras' forehead. I didn't enjoy that. Other than that, yeah, I actually don't have that many nitpicks and complaints. I guess my biggest nitpick is I feel like this episode, despite how awesome it is, kind of cements for me the feeling that the actors just aren't having fun anymore. Especially, I thought Davos was really terrible in this episode in a really weird way, and part of it, I feel like their character moments are so few and far between. It's like they're going episodes just delivering plot information to the point that when we get these character moments, they just feel weird and uninvolved. But I guess we'll talk about that later. So
it's interesting because I think Liam Cunningham, the actor who plays Davos, is one of the. He feels like one of the people that's most into the show of the actors. But yeah, we'll get to that for sure. Jeff, you wanna round us out here?
Sure. I think I have to give it a 5 because whenever Geralt makes an appearance, it's awesome. And then
wait a minute, who made the appearance?
Makes an appearance?
Geralt.
It's a Witcher reference. The Witcher's name is the White Wolf, so
it's John, not Ghost.
Yeah. What the fuck is the Witcher?
Nerds.
Video game.
Join the podcast.
We're talking about real fake stuff here, not fake stuff.
Yeah, come on. This is important stuff.
And then also, Tower of Joy cancels out any Sansa's apology, so we're all good there.
Okay.
Says the man.
Casey does not agree. Like Stannis, the good does not erase the bad.
Right. All right. Well, yeah. For me, I'll give it 5 as well. I really enjoyed it. I thought that there was a lot of just crazy off the wall scenes that I just got really into, and that first initial sequence that people have discussed was obviously masterful. Like Katie said, I think the cinematography, the music obviously fantastic. Though I did have reservations about it, but I've since come around, and it was just really awesome. So even like the little things were so good, and it makes you wonder why is the directing so good in these last two, and it doesn't stand up in the other ones, and why they don't maybe get this guy doing more or something else. I don't know, but yeah, it's a different level, and I appreciate it.
Who wrote this episode?
D&D.
D&D.
Yeah, you can't.
Surprise.
Yeah, gotta give it to him. You gotta give it to him. But yeah, there we go. So that is our round out. As you said, Adam, it was a 4.57 out of 74 votes on the forums. A lot of 4.5s and 5s. So yeah, a lot of people loved this one. But yeah, let's go ahead and jump right into it, starting with this big scene here that went on for like a half an hour. This sequence in King's Landing, which I will now summarize. It's going to be a bit long, and we'll get to talking about it. So, the people of King's Landing gather in the Great Sept of Baelor for the trials of Loras Tyrell and Cersei Lannister. Loras is brought forward to be judged. He confesses all of his sins, including profligacy, which I just learned is a word, and begs to atone by giving up his name and title of heir to House Tyrell. He promises to serve the Faith as one of its warriors, and the Faith militants step forward to carve their symbol into his forehead. Tommen tries to go to the trial, but is stopped by Sir Gregor. Cersei's absence is noted, and Lancel and his men are sent to retrieve her, but he is distracted by a boy and goes chasing after him. Meanwhile, Grand Maester Pycelle is lured into Qyburn's chamber and stabbed to death by a bunch of children. Lancel follows the boy underground and discovers a massive cache of wildfire beneath the sept, but is stabbed before he can do anything about it. Marjorie is suspicious of Cersei and Tommen's absence and calls for everyone to leave, but her exit is barred by the Faith militant. Lancel crawls toward a candle as it slowly burns down, but it ignites the wildfire before he can reach it in time. He, the Sept, and all the people inside go up in a fiery explosion as Cersei watches from the Red Keep with a smile on her face. She then goes to a bound and captured Septa Unella and confesses all of her sins and the joy that each and every one of them gives her. She leaves the Sept with Sir Gregor to do what he will. Tommen looks out at the city and beholds all the death and suffering. He sets his crown down and steps out the window. Later, Cersei tells Qyburn... Sorry, I'm laughing because you fuckers change my summaries nonstop.
I strike again!
All finger strikes again. Later, Cersei tells Qyburn that the young king's body will be burned and the ashes buried in the ruins of the Sept. So yeah, this super long sequence, certainly a lot to say about it. Who wants to go first?
Piano music.
Piano music, yes.
It was weird. I don't think they've ever used piano accompaniment for the score before. It's weirdly anachronistic.
At first, I was kind of put off by that, and I thought it was strange, and I mentioned this last night, but Casey, I think you made a good point, and I've read this elsewhere, that it almost feels like that was intentional, that the music didn't seem to quite fit and something felt off, because there was obviously, in the context of the scene, a lot that felt off and didn't feel quite right, and there was just a sense of unease that I thought the music that didn't quite fit supported, which made it even better, I think.
Yeah, I mean, they kind of, it seems like Game of Thrones tries to incorporate their theme song in various moments, and I feel like here they just wanted to make something that what you were saying that I said last night, that that it was just uncomfortable.
Well, in fact, they do include the Game of Thrones theme song in this song. It's just a weirdly discordant version. When
you can hear it.
Yeah.
I think it's because the piano really hasn't been, as you know, I don't know how closely they follow this, but it seems to be strings and like woodwinds and drums. So like even any variation of the music going through like the show has been like kind of almost traditional like medieval music, whereas like the piano wasn't part of that, and just that kind of sound is something completely foreign and uncanny and kind of, you know, adds to the scene.
It reminded me a bit of another HBO show, The Leftovers, where there's a lot of scenes in that series where the music is like thumping, dominating the scenes, and it gives the sense that the plot, events are moving faster than the characters realize, which is the same feeling I got in these scenes. That tension is building that no one is aware of, and even as viewers, we're not entirely aware of. And then it reaches the crescendo with the explosion, and I thought it was fantastic.
So with this sequence, did anyone else like? I don't think I really noticed that on my first viewing, but the second, like how super fucking creepy those kids were.
Yeah. Kids are inherently creepy, and when you give them knives, it's even worse.
Good point, Greg.
When they're all hopped up on the sugar plums and
you know it's all for candy.
I thought Lancel could have been a fucking hero. He could have blown those candles out. He was right there.
Yeah,
I thought that was going to happen too.
By a 6-year-old.
Yeah, it was fairly contrived about just to get him down there and to be crawling towards it in that trying to build dramatic tension. But I'm not going to really hold that against the show because it worked out so well in the end to make it a cool moment. But there's really no reason he should be down there or they should bring him down there or he should have the chance to go towards the candles. They should have just left that alone. But if they were trying to be super effective, but it was a cool part of the TV show.
I like how Cersei's plan rested on the fact that a candle was going to burn down.
It was very Bond villain.
Science.
Well, I mean, I don't think it did, though, because, you know, like, let's say he doesn't come out. Like, they could have just set that off if they had to. Like, I think they just wanted to lure him out so that they would get everyone, you know, so that he wouldn't be halfway down the street.
What do you think that initial little bird said to Pycelle to get him to follow her? Because he was just going to presumably go to the Sept or something, and then she whispers something to him, and he's like, oh, okay, I'll follow.
He was looking for Tommen. He's like, where's Tommen? Like, so I think she clearly was like, hey, the king needs you in this secret place.
I was told the king would be in the dungeon.
I just want to comment on, like, this whole scene. While it was great, like, the mass death, I get why they had to do it. Like, all season, I've been wondering, like, what the hell is Marjorie's plan? What are they gonna do with Loras? And it just, like, because all they did was give in to the High Septon, give in over and over again. And I think that they knew it wasn't gonna matter, so they didn't bother writing anything to make sense for that.
You didn't follow that though. I thought it was clear that like she was going along so far as she could get her brother back, and then.
Right, but like that like it seems like she would have had a better chance supporting like when Mace attacked, like you know, like I don't know, it seemed like that was never like she's ruining her whole house. That's best case scenario is her brother is, you know, mutilated and can no longer be the Lord. I mean, she think he gets out of there and they just wipe everything clean.
She thought that they weren't going to mutilate him because she even said that.
Yeah.
She was like,
but she also converts Tommen instead of saying, "Hey, Tommen, bring people in here and murder these guys."
She cares about his life. She doesn't care about anything else. If she can get him back alive, then she can reverse all this. Like,
yeah, I don't know. I just never felt that she was going to get him back alive. I felt like something bad was going to happen either way. So, I mean, I guess it turns out the High Septon would have been true to his word, kind of, but then he's still in power.
I think Marjorie's plan was to trade Cersei for Loras, right? Like to remove her entirely from the game. Like the High Septon views her as a corrupting influence, not just to Tommen, but the kingdom as a whole. So if he can remove her by killing her, one assumes, then that's a fair trade because Loras is now ineffective.
I don't know. Just the conversion of Tommen, just like if there's not magic involved, I'm still confused about it.
I feel like it's what Adam and Katie, I think you were saying a couple of weeks ago. It's just that the showrunners always knew it was going to end like this, so they never like sent out the threads and developed a plausible scheme because they knew they never had to. So they just are relying on the audience to come up with a scheme that's logical and fill in the blanks.
I was just really confused how King's Landing isn't all on fire right now. They do know, like, wildfire burns the fuck out of everything, right?
Shh. Well, we know it keeps burning. We don't know how much it explodes.
Yeah, the city was on fire. The fire was spreading.
Pyromancer Guild 906, and they had him do a controlled burn. It was fine.
Right.
The local 906 Pyromancers.
I do kind of wish we did have that, what was it, Pyromancer Halen or whatever, whoever Roy Deutsch played.
Had a funny laugh.
Yeah, it was just like
I don't
sitting there like
pig shit.
I wanted to know what the conversation was, either in, I guess, the writer's room. They don't have one of those, I guess. Wherever they came up with the idea of that bell hitting the guy. Like, wait, what if we had a bell?
You know, in the hotel, when we came up with this right before bedtime.
Yeah.
Should we pay to have Ghost show up at Winterfell? Nah, let's hit 4 guys with a bell.
Hey, Ghost should have just been on that ship at the end, you know? Everyone else was.
Yes. I thought Cersei's battle dress was pretty great.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome.
Oh, that outfit was on point, yeah.
Great.
Did anyone else think for a split second that Gregor was going to kill Tommen?
Yes,
Like,
yes, I did.
Going
Split second, yeah.
No, I did
He's going
too.
to kill everybody.
Yeah.
Zach, you said that you laughed at Tommen walking out the window, which is
I
weird
said-
because
that was me.
I actually
laughed,
felt
too.
really sickened by that shot. Not least because I felt really bad for Tommen, but I was really like rooting for Cersei in that whole scene up until that point, because it's such a triumphant victory, and her pouring the wine on Yunella's face like, yeah, I've wanted to do that this whole season, go Cersei. And then just this quiet single shot of her son walking out the window, it felt like a devastating undercut to everything that had come before for the last half an hour. It was a really powerful punctuation point for me.
I thought it was too, for sure. And if anything, I think it was a laugh out of shock, at least on my part. Like, just it felt so out of nowhere, and I thought it was staged well in that way where he steps out of the frame and just kind of walks back in and does it, and there's no break there. It's so sudden.
Right.
But for me, like, even before that, the sickening part for me was when Cersei left Gregor with Unella.
Ugh.
That was
Yeah. That was a little.
I got goosebumps when she started going shame.
With Tommen's death, I think that's the quietest death we've ever had on Game of Thrones. Am I wrong?
No, I think that's yeah.
I think that's what made it so different, because I was watching the scene. I thought my computer had froze because HBO Go was acting up on me again. And then I realized that I heard him coming back, and I was like, oh no, this is happening. And then he just walked out, and I was like, just gapped by it. I didn't know how to react, because it's not typical to Game of Thrones till death scenes.
He has to know that his mother. I mean, those are the two pieces that have put together, like, finalized his decision. Is one, Marjorie's dead. Two, his mother did it.
Yeah, he must know.
Yeah, he has to know.
I really
it's
like.
been built up where he's had like some tension with his mom as well. So I feel like he knows it's her.
To be fair, he basically killed his mother last episode, though. So
I think he was naive on that point. I thought he was trusting in his fledgling friendship with the High Sparrow that he was going to punish Cersei, but not in a brutal way.
I agree with that.
I think that's why he was being late to the trial, though, is that he was having like a panic from knowing that this could be the end of his mom.
I don't think Tommen is that kind of person where if he knew that his mother was going to be killed, that he would have gone through with it. I think he would have been coaxed into she needs to face her sins and face her punishment. For him, it would be like,
he would have objected, but it would have been too late.
I think he's a good kid.
Do we think
Tommen's been very innocent this entire season? Like he's been Marjorie is, that's a better word. But he's been pulled by Marjorie. He's been trying to listen to his mom, but he's torn between the two women in his life, and it's this end scene was just too much for him, I guess.
I really like how Tommen's finale goes, in that what it says about his arc for the entire season. I think his suicide is tied in his utter failure in his own perception as a king, that he's killing himself because as he reflects on all of his duties as a king, he has failed. Like, he has failed to protect his family, he has failed to protect the people, he has failed to uphold the faith, he has no control over this situation. Everything he's tried to do has led to more death and destruction, usually not by his own hand. And so I think he sees this as like resolving his inability. And I know on DragonCast people have been very critical of Tommen and his often inactions. So I think he is aware of his own failings, and that's why he steps off the ledge.
Yeah, he takes the crown off first, which I thought was actually a really powerful little detail.
Right, like he's abandoning the kingship. Like, he is not fit to rule.
Who's the worst king, Joffrey or Tommen?
Joffrey didn't really do anything. Like, Joffrey, he tortured people and stuff, but as far as the ruling, he only made a few decisions, like killing Ned and stuff, but for the most part, you had
his city
Tyrion
starve
and Tywin.
I think you can easily say Joffrey was the worst king because all of his motivations came from bad places with bad.
I mean,
he wanted horrible things to happen, while Tommen only wanted good outcomes, but was, as we've discussed, like naive and misled by his advisors. Joffrey had better advisors. He had Tyrion and Tywin to kind of rein in his impulses. Tommen had pretty much no one.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think he would have been a much worse king, and I think he probably still is, but he didn't really have a lot of time to do much kinging.
No, you gotta have that kinging time.
Do we think that maybe people will start blaming Tommen for the deaths at...
No, I don't think so. I think given Westeros and its romantic chivalry nature, Tommen will have killed himself after his beloved queen died. Like, that's how it'll be perceived. Like, it'll be this great sacrifice out of love.
Well, that's what Qyburn has to spin it, PR-wise, right? That this is what happened, and that's why Cersei is queen instead of a council being held or anything.
What is her? She makes this decision to have his ashes interned at the side of where the sept was. Is that what she says in that scene?
Yes.
Yeah, that's where Joff's ashes.
Yeah. So what do people think about this reaction that Cersei had to his death?
So I thought it was and I'm probably completely wrong. I thought she washed her hands of him and essentially disowned him, but I'm probably wrong.
She didn't disown him. I think, but she was always resigned to him dying. I think.
I don't know if she. I don't.
Because she's read the books.
No, I mean, she had the prophecy that happened in the show. Obviously, I don't know if she was resigned to it the whole time, but I think that when it happened, she was resigned at that point, and she realized, yes, it's all true. This is happening. This was always.
I think in her heart, after Myrcella died, she kind of was like, "Yeah, the prophecy's legit," but I don't think she wanted him to die here at all. And then when it happened, I think she just shut off and was like, "Well, what do I do now? I'm the queen now."
I just think that she's numb in this scene. I think that she sees that her child die. I don't think that she was expecting this to happen. I think that she was just trying to save him from everything that was going to happen that day. But she sees him dead. She's very numb, and she's like, "Well, there's nothing I can do other than be queen now, and that's what I'm going to do."
So what is Jaime thinking? He's like, is that admiration or scorn?
Wait.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I left the second half of King's Landing for the end because it would feel weird if we went to the twins after Jaime was in King's Landing. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, my bad.
No problem. So yeah, anything else on this bit?
So what do you think Jaime was thinking?
Alright. No, we're done. We're going to the twins. Here we go. Going to the twins where the Lannister and Frey men celebrate the recapture of River Run. Jaime hooks Bronn up with some ladies and speaks to Walder Frey about battles and betrayal. Sometime later, Walder Frey is dining at his high table. What? Why would you just delete that? What was the point of that? Walder Frey is dining at his side table when a serving woman comes forward and offers him a pie. Walder asks where his sons are, and the woman explains that they are right there in the pie. She pulls off her face, and Arya Stark is revealed. She cuts Lord Frey's throat and smiles down at him as he dies.
Arya, you have to make him eat the pie first.
He was Arya. Pie. The first name on your list is Cersei. You could have saved so many people. Why did she go all the way to the Riverlands when King's Landing is probably where she actually landed?
We can't discuss geography. We've agreed to just let it go.
How did the Veil know?
But it doesn't make any goddamn sense.
I think it makes sense.
Why I give it a 2.5.
Geography.
How is Walder Frey not at the top of her list? The architect of the Red Wedding who's left alive. He's got to go first.
There's only 3 people on the freaking list at this point, right? He's one of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but Cersei was the closer one.
She's got.
Yeah, but she's the harder one. She's the boss. This is just a mid-level boss.
Yeah, you gotta work your way.
Yeah. Okay.
So, yeah, we got Frey pie. Arya. This was the most baffling thing ever for me, and it's funny because Mikal actually said that Arya would show up at the twins, and I was like, no, there's no fucking way that's happening. And she did. She's here.
Yeah.
She killed Lord Walder Frey, which was pretty cool, I guess.
I just imagine
a very satisfying murder.
I was wrong in that I assumed that she didn't have the magic, but I suppose she just left with a gym bag full of faces that she stole from...
Yeah, that's what I was saying. She just, suitcase of faces to go, right, Jakin?
They cut, right before she turned back to Jakin. I was like, hey, could you spare any, masks? And, Jakin's like, yeah, man, I got you. And he, throws her a couple faces.
Here's your wig, here's your spirit gum, okay, there you go, you know.
Let's just hope she didn't kill a pretty girl in Maiden Pool to get that face.
So yeah, Arya really played the Faceless Men perfectly, took all their power and didn't get any consequences, and so now she's super overpowered, and now anyone in the series can be Arya at any time. She just pulls out her face and she's killing people.
She did get stabbed several times in the stomach for 5 minutes, and then it was fine.
Yeah, but that didn't barely even phase her.
Consequences.
Does Does this confirm that like Faceless Man SOP is to pull off your mask during the kill so that you reveal yourself? Like that just seems to like no
It's
one
like the
has
sorrowful man.
There's a
No,
camera.
you know what that is? It's actually a callback to Ned, who passes the sentence swing the sword. So you should see who is killing them and judge whether or not they're supposed to die in the first place.
No.
Yeah, but every Faceless
I
Man
mean,
kill has been like rip the face off.
If it's anything, it's a twisted version of that, Drew, because she wanted to watch him die, and she wanted him to see her smiling and looking down at her, and knowing that it was a Stark that killed him. It was not
her
a good
face is
decision,
her face as she like held his like dying body to her was just like, oh, that's disturbing.
It was really weirdly sexual and just gross. Because he's like pulsing against her, and she has this blissful look on her face, like, yes, I feel
She's
you
like,
dying.
But like, also, Arya's a better faceless man than the waif, and she also looked like she was 20 there.
Yeah, and about a foot taller.
Magic.
I love Walder Frey. I'm gonna miss him.
Wait, what?
What's his name? Argus Filch?
I feel like people. I feel like
You
people
know
didn't
who
know
I
how
really
to react
like?
to that. Like, I miss Walder Frey. Like,
Well,
wait a minute.
He's a great character. Like, how could you deny that?
You love to hate him.
I did like the conversation between Walder Frey and Jamie where Walder Frey is drawing the direct comparison between the two, and Jamie's like, I'm nothing like you, and I don't want to be anything like you, and I'm out of here. Peace out.
He just is like, fuck off. He just had no patience for any of that. That was good. Let's go to Oldtown, where Sam and Gilly arrive about 3 miles from the city to get a group photo in front of the high tower and the city at large before heading in. They meet with a Maester of Admissions to get Sam all enrolled and inform him that Gio Mormont and Maester Aemon both died. Despite the irregularity of the situation, the Maester says Sam will meet with the Archmaester and can hang out in the library in the meantime. Sam is all too quick to accept the opportunity and leaves Gilly and Little Sam behind to check out some books. Yeah.
White ravens were flying.
Yeah.
I thought they were seagulls until this.
It was on fire.
I'm sorry, I was super excited when I realized what it was, and I'm like, book readers will know what's happening for several moments longer than the show watchers. This is great.
Yeah, each one's supposed to go to a great house, so how many fucking houses are there? God damn.
A whole lot.
Yeah, there are a lot.
Thousands.
And they
George just
flew
said there are
away from
thousands of houses.
from the high tower, not the citadel. They would have to fly away from the citadel. That's where the ravens are probably kept, right?
Oh, stop bitching. We got the fucking high tower. That's all we needed.
It's the High Citadel in the show. There's just the High Citadel. It's fine.
It was good. It was good.
It was good. It was a beautiful shot coming in, and that Maester was awesome. So yeah, I have nothing to complain about actually.
Oh yeah, the Maesters are dicks, right?
Hey, let's not judge all the Maesters. We only saw one
The
fucking
one,
guy.
yeah.
I didn't like it. I didn't like it on Gilly's behalf because all this wonderful knowledge in the world, and no, lady, you gotta sit in the waiting room with your crying kid and read him. I don't know.
No,
wait, you
words.
can't read to him anything.
Babies are really sticky, and they have a lot of old books.
Where do you think Sam kept the sword while they went to the Citadel? Just put it in an alley?
Don't worry about it.
What is
Oh,
Sam's
Gilly with
plan?
it.
Like he's bringing a kid, a wife, and a sword to become a Maester. Like what's this? He's not really.
This is
planning
highly
anything.
irregular.
He's like, yes, I am.
Sam's like, I just gave my Valyrian sword to a girl or a guy named Sorella, so yes, everything's weird over here.
Yeah. I mean, he also told Randall Tarley that he was going to Oldtown, so.
And then did.
But I didn't say where.
It's a pretty easy hunt.
Unfortunately, Randall Tarley hates books, so like Sam's safe at
They
Citadel.
repel him.
He like walks into the library and just
Starts to burn.
So did anyone else notice that the Astro Lab, that's like, or whatever the thing is that holds the shiny Bernie thing in the title sequence, was hanging from the ceiling of the Citadel?
I actually think those weren't Astro Labs. I think they were, they redirect sunlight in so that they don't need to light it internally. Because
I thought that was awesome.
Handles in
Those
the
were-
library.
those looked Harry Potterish.
That guy at the Citadel was kind of mean, so he probably just wasn't trying to push him. Like,
Yeah. Was there a reason for that attitude? That reminded me of like you know,
He hates
one of
his
the administrative
job, his mother
assistants that
nags
like
him a lot.
just like thinks they're better. It's like no, just get the
It's
meeting.
It's like the Westeros equivalent of the DMV. He just does not want to be there, but he has to.
Right.
It was highly irregular.
It is
Also-
highly irregular.
I feel bad for Gilly because the baby's been the same age for 4 years.
No, I think the baby grew.
Someone growing up. Someone else.
It hit a growth spurt.
Someone brought up like crying baby. That kid was calm as shit. I didn't hear a peep out of that kid.
I think it was a new actor. Can you call them actors?
Yeah, that looked like a 2-3-year-old
actor that played the baby.
Just out of drama school.
On baby IMDb.
It must be a super bummer for all the maesters when they get assigned somewhere and they have to leave the Citadel. Because that place is awesome, and every castle in the realm kind of sucks in comparison.
No, but like the one maester who like stayed behind has to sit at the front desk. I don't think anyone wants that job.
Oh, there was no front desk. That was it. That was the whole thing.
This is
it was
real
them,
life,
the two
though,
guys.
right? I mean, they have to pay tuition there, and they spend 4 years, and then they have to go out and live real
No,
life.
dude, Bernie went to the Seven Kingdoms. Tuition free, friend. Tuition free.
A lifetime of
Maester.
a lifetime of servitude to make up for it.
Yeah. So are you going to meet Marwyn next season?
Maybe.
They say the Archmaester, so it feels like if they're giving like there's one Archmaester, then maybe it's Marwyn. I don't know.
No, it's gonna be
really Jonathan
old
Price,
one.
isn't it?
He just shows up as fast.
He's gonna be like,
no, guys. It's his twin brother.
Oh, you know my brother? Yeah. He was always a troublemaker.
It's me, Low Sparrow.
Found the faith in his old age. Alright, let's go to Dorne.
No!
Let's go to Dorne, where Olenna meets...
You go to Dorne.
Oh, come on.
Everyone's going to Dorne.
Dorne.
I will help you share this burden.
Olenna meets with Ilaria Sand to discuss the pact to bring down Cersei Lannister. Ilaria agrees that they will work together for their mutual survival. Olenna says that she doesn't want mere survival. Ilaria explains that she misspoke and promises vengeance and justice. Fire and blood, Varys adds, stepping out from the shadows.
Stepping out from his fucking time machine.
Yeah.
Oh, wasn't that bad?
Actually, this was the best Dorne scene ever.
It gets bad when you realize Varys goes back to Meereen before he gets back on a boat. That's when it gets bad.
Right.
Well, no, I mean, once you put some thought into it, I don't think it does. But
I know.
I think that, like, yeah, we got, 2 Dorne scenes? Like 3, I guess, because of the murder on the boat. But I don't know, I think they listened last year. I've acknowledged they really screwed this up and just kind of, Olenna makes everything better, and she kind of clowns them, and it was over quickly, so...
Shut up.
Let the older women speak. What?
It also looked like Obara just inherited her dad's wardrobe. I
like how she called her Barbara.
She called her Barbaro.
She called her Barbaro?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, there's not a whole lot to say in this scene. Obviously, it's kind of cool that we get a weird, twisted version of Doran's speech. They're joining the Lannisters, or not the Lannisters, the Targaryens, so that's interesting plot-wise, I suppose.
Well, the Martells, or the Tyrells and Martells, supported the Targaryens, right? So that's not too out of the way. But
I don't think it is at all.
But why give Doran's speech to Ilaria? Like, why?
Because he's dead.
Dorne.
Yep, he was dead.
Would we like to move on to Beyond the Wall?
Please.
Sure.
All right.
Oh, I forgot about this scene. I completely forgot the brand of the episode.
Because nothing happened.
4.5.
Pointless.
Only the Tower of Joy reveal, that's a fairly big thing.
Not
No, I remember that, but I forgot it was from Brian.
You mean right next to the forest that actually led to the wall, not like against the fucking wall?
So
Alright.
Well, I can defend that though, like, because the Night's Watch might see and recognize him. They'd be like,
What, the 6 of them that are left?
yeah.
they still have people.
Dolores
for
Head is
rangings.
probably just standing at the top, ready to kill White Walkers.
So Cold Hands Benjen deposits Bran and Mira near the wall and sets out alone, explaining that he can't pass beyond the wall's magical force field. Bran crawls to the Heart Tree and returns to the Tower of Joy and follows the young Ned Stark inside. There he finds Lyanna Stark dying from a recent childbirth. Ned goes to Lyanna to comfort her, and Lyanna tells him the name of her newborn child and asks him to promise her to take care of him. It happened, guys! It's confirmed!
Guys.
L equals J!
No, I saw I saw a post on Tumblr and then I saw a Periscope video. One guy who thought that this proved definitively that Jon was an incest child between Ned and Lyanna.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
And the other
That's the
one,
exact same question.
the other one who was he was a show watcher, he's like, I've been seeing R plus L equals J all these years and I finally know Robert plus Lyanna equals Jon. Like,
Oh, that is fantastic.
They figured it
just
out.
That's a good point.
Finally,
They both start with R.
I don't know, but people are not gonna. Nobody knows who fucking Rhaegar is from the show. Are you kidding me?
I know who he is. He's Khaleesi's
They're like, wasn't
brother,
that
isn't he?
Robert's younger brother that tried to, but got killed by the Shadow Baby? Oh no, that's Renly. Oh, it's an R, whatever.
Wow, you have such low opinions of show viewers, man.
I have my high horse. This is it.
Yeah.
Let me enjoy it.
Do we have anything to say about this scene?
Nothing constructive.
Pointless except for the R plus L equals J reveal.
Oh.
Was
Great.
Bran like, I just need to finish this one scene before we leave here?
I need to confirm this theory before we move on.
Well, guys, don't you hate when you're watching something and you can't finish it, right?
He's like, Mira, it's episode 10. We got to do this.
I DVR'd it on the werewood. Come on, let's watch.
What if he grabbed the beard of the werewood and was like, I don't know, it was weird.
Well, so
He wasn't even trying to connect. He's just like, oh man, I want to stroke this tree's beard.
Tree beard? Tree beard!
Oh yes, nice. You
Don't
did
be-
it, guys. We're done. We're done. We got Treebeard.
Matt, don't be hasty.
Well played,
Adam.
sir.
Adam, you're just the best right now.
So I mean,
Hello,
the scene itself, I thought was really well done. I thought it was very heartbreaking. The exchange between, what do they call him? What are they? Neil Patrick Stark or whatever, and Lyanna. It worked for me really well. So that part, it was good.
So we get the reveal like from Benjen that there's magic inside the wall and that's why he can't cross. Does that mean? What does that mean? Do any show watchers? Did any show watchers actually pick up on that?
I don't think I have no idea.
Show watchers have forgotten the Night's King. They just don't even remember him.
Who's that dude?
You're so mean.
Show watchers are all ignorant fools who know nothing of the outside.
I really liked your tone there, Paul. That was great.
Is this the whole like Bran's gonna cause the wall to get like fall theory?
Yeah, I mean potentially, right? So he has the mark on him. That could mean that if he goes south, they can pass through.
Yeah. And maybe
That makes
Benjen
sense.
doesn't know that yet. Like, understand that if Bran goes beyond the wall, that he's actually gonna make the White Walkers come over.
Yeah,
Or
what do you
maybe
think
later?
Bran is aiming to do once he gets south of the wall? Just go join up back at Winterfell?
Well,
again?
that's what I think is weird, right?
The king in the north.
Right, the king
Yeah.
of the north. Oh, wait,
Hey, bro,
Bran's
you're
here.
Targaryen.
Here's my true-born brother. Okay. That King of the North, that's the one I meant.
Oops.
So Winterfell, Jon speaks of his life as a bastard to Melisandre, but is interrupted by the arrival of Davos. He flings Shireen's stag carving at Melisandre and demands that she explain what happened. Melisandre admits to burning Shireen alive, and Davos requests permission to execute her. Melisandre pleads to Jon that she can be useful in the war against the dead. Jon chooses to exile her from the north and warns her that she will die if she ever dares to return. As Melisandre rides off, Jon and Sansa discuss which of them would be best fit to lead the North, each deferring to the other. Sansa apologizes for not telling Jon about the Vale Knights. Jon says that if they are going to succeed in the coming war, they need to trust each other. Sansa tells Jon that a white raven announcing that winter has come just as their father always promised. I was wrong, guys. Sansa's not evil.
She's just
Melisandre, sir, is pretty.
Thank you, Matt.
And no Sandra hate here.
She's just underwritten. I still don't understand what her motivation is. I guess I just didn't trust you enough. Well, we lost about 1,000 men yesterday, thanks to your lack of trust.
Yeah, well,
Thanks.
one's dead, Sansa, so thanks.
He's the last of the
Yeah,
giants.
I think it
the
was a
literally
cop-out.
last.
I think they did hear what they also did with Davos, and they took it out of the offending party's hands, basically. They said, well, okay, well, John's cool with it, so let's move on. And same thing with when Davos is confronting Melisandre. It's like, okay, well, Jon will let her leave, so Davos is blameless. All right, move on. Like, without really giving us a satisfying resolution.
So why did Jon let her leave?
Because
Kinda owes
she
her her
brought him
life.
back to fucking life.
Yeah, maybe it was you brought me back to life, so I owe you one. I'm giving you your life back.
Everyone gets
Completed
one.
sentence.
Yeah.
It felt like it ran counter to her whole argument that she can be helpful by sending her away and making her useless, basically. But yeah, I mean, he's paying a debt, I guess, and he doesn't want to kill her.
She and Thoros can have Bible study or whatever the heck they do.
She's gonna come back and save Jon from the Night's King at some point, and then die in the doing. So she'll redeem herself. Sometime.
Anyway, I thought Davos was not good in this scene. I thought he was really overblown and felt like he was acting in a vacuum and didn't care. And I thought Melisandre was actually really, really good. I thought she was and that's not the word I'm looking for. I thought she was really
subtle.
Thank you.
Yeah, I get that, Katie, but also, like, he's been holding this in since before the battle, so, like, this is his one shot to just let it all out there. And I know what you're saying. I know.
Like, Davos has been, like, the cool cucumber for 9 episodes.
I'm not saying that he didn't have the right to be overblown. I'm just saying his overblown reaction felt badly acted. It didn't convince me. It didn't land for me at all.
I really liked it in the moment, but I wonder if rewatching it, if I wouldn't sidle with you, Katie.
Yeah. No,
well, I think
it's like a big crybaby on my rewatch.
I think it's his same kind of acting is like when he's convincing the Iron Bank to support Stannis. He's like, "Oh, he's a man in his prime." Like,
I love this man.
Yeah.
I thought the scene itself was fine. I didn't pick up on the stilted acting that you pointed out, Katie, but yeah, maybe I'll see it on a rewatch. The part that bugged me is the same thing we've been talking about this whole time, is that why now? Why was this the moment to have this confrontation? Why didn't he go to her earlier and ask to know what happened and where's Shireen and how did she die?
Because Brienne cockblocked it.
But why didn't he go back and do it 5 minutes later? It's bizarre that it had to come here for maximum drama to have Jon in the conversation.
Like, what I would say, Zach, is going back to what I said at the beginning, is that, like, every single story is being tied up. So we had, like, Davos, this has been hanging over his character all season, and it's kind of weird that it hasn't come up before now, but, like, I think they were saving a lot of these moments for episode 10. And, like, yeah, it kind of feels strange, but then if you had it come out before, does that mean Melisandre and Davos aren't at the battle, and what other ripple effects do you have?
Yeah, but I think there's a certain amount of responsibility to build up to things like this and to make sure that they make sense and they're earned. It feels like in this case that there was no good reason why Davos didn't bring it up before now.
Well, he also didn't find the burnt stag until last episode.
Yeah, this makes for a great 10th episode. We all gave it really high ratings, and I think like the actual rating was like an actual 10 out of 10, but then how good is this season? Like, we have all these points that didn't get answered until the last fucking episode. And it was a good episode, but like things like this annoy me.
I think there's more to it than just annoyance. I think that there's a lot of cases where it just feels like they didn't give the storylines the time they deserve, and it felt like they were just going with a lot of wasteful character moments, a lot with Tyrion, and I feel like it ended up just having to be all shoved in here at the end for it to tie up, and it didn't feel like a lot of what happened before led to it. It felt like it was just kind of out of nowhere in a lot of cases.
Yeah, but most of the stuff that happens in the East feels like a waste of time anyway.
Even in the books, I mean, it's a placeholder, right?
So, put this in earlier. What would you move? I think this has been a tighter, better season overall.
I think overall it's much improved for sure.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But like the problem is the pace like glosses over the glaring plot holes that exist with the show right now.
Mm-hmm. Right.
In a lot of cases, for me, it's even more so than plot holes, and it's fine if it's a TV show. They want to play it a certain way. They need some characters and some scenes all the time, but I just lost all investment in Davos' character because I just lost all belief in who he is as a character, because it just felt like he didn't matter. It just felt like he was in the background for eight episodes, and to have it come here, like it was too late for me because I just didn't care about him anymore because he hadn't done anything.
It just seems like there's a lack of character development that they just don't want to do. They just want to have things happen. That's it.
Well, it comes from knowing the major beat points of the character arcs over the season and not knowing the middle fill-in parts. So they know this character has to be here for so long and then leave at this point or be alive at this moment, but they don't know what to do in between. And then you have the actors and you have to have them do something for the episodes. So they're just all sitting around waiting for their moments.
It feels like, I guess, to unfairly compare their writing to George's writing, is George, his plot comes out of the characters' motivations, and so it feels organic. He puts a bunch of interesting, complicated characters together, and then the plot grows organically from them. With D&D, it's like they have the plot in their head, and then they put they shove the characters into the plot, and then try to make them work out that way. And it doesn't feel organic. It feels kind of like connecting the dots and going A to B to C.
Right, because they do have a framework that they're trying to match, and they have to fill in the details. They have this weird paint by numbers project.
You could have half of the crescendos that they had in this episode across the season, and it would have been a much better season. And yeah, okay, you wouldn't have had this big giant finale thing, but it doesn't have to be that way. You can build drama and suspense for the next season.
I mean, do you think that like it's a product of their writing or a product of George told us that R plus L equals J? George told us that Cersei's going to blow up the Sept to defeat the High Sparrow.
I think
George
it's a combination
told us
of that. Sorry.
No,
you know,
see, I think that's wrong, because basically what you're saying then is outlines make for bad writing. Like, most writers use some form of outline to structure what they're going to create as they go along. They didn't have ultimate authorship of the outline, but they still choose how to lay out the plot and the characters.
But we don't know how much if it was an outline or if it was literally just big picture end stuff. Like, this person's on the throne, these people are dead. Like, that's what happened. We don't know what they told them, so we don't know if it was an actual outline.
But Greg, we know, like, season 6 is largely book material. Right, like there's huge chunks of book 5 and 4, and the dream sequences from Ned. Like, there's lots of stuff from the book still in this season. There's not a ton of, we didn't know this was happening. This is all brand new information.
I guess what sets me off most about their writing is what they'll do is they'll take something that is from the books and they'll portray it in the most reductive, simplistic, not lacking any depth or anything, and they'll just throw away, and they'll say it's a nod to the books, like the Frey pies in this episode. Frey pie was something that Manderley did, and it built his character. It showed that he was cunning, and he was deceitful, and he was playing the long game to hurt these people, and Arya just learned how to bake and fucking throw it in a pie, and it got thrown away, and it lost all of its real value. Yeah,
there's a lot. I mean, obviously, this episode was good. I'm perfectly happy saying that, and I think that in a lot of cases, my criticism has nothing to do with the episode in and of itself. It's more so just the general feeling that characters have these crescendo moments, like you said, Drew, that weren't necessarily earned or weren't necessarily built up to. And there's a couple more cases of that kind of bugged me. Ultimately, it's fine. It's fine. It's a TV show, and they're playing up the drama, and that's good. And I'm perfectly happy with it. But yeah, I feel like it bears pointing out that some of these characters' storylines just were non-existent until the end here.
Yeah, I think for me to be just for my own mental well-being next season, I'm going to hit the emotional reset button and just enjoy it for what it is.
Sure, enjoying it as a piece of media is far more than like pulling it apart and how did they adapt this and what did we get, and especially now because we are comparing parts of these things to things George has not written yet or hasn't released publicly to us, which makes this the whole comparison thing falls apart by this season.
So, in the Godswood, Littlefinger goes to Sansa and expresses his dream to sit the Iron Throne with her at his side. Sansa stops him before he can kiss her and simply says that it is a pretty picture he dreams of. As she goes, Littlefinger wonders aloud why a bastard from the south should stand in the way of her claim. So yeah, they're keeping up with this here of trying to set Sansa against Jon with pushing that. Yeah.
I didn't like this scene because I don't think it makes any sense that this was Littlefinger's ambition. Like, I think the show.
I mean, when he started off killing Jon Arryn when Sansa was 12, he's like, I'm gonna sit the Iron Throne next to Sansa.
I think
that doesn't make any fucking goddamn sense.
He painted that part in later. That was added later into the
I felt like this was supposed to feel like. Okay, if you can't tell the emotion from a scene, sometimes you gotta say, what is the music trying to communicate to me? And it really felt like the music was trying to imply that we were supposed to think this was a romantic gesture that he was making. Because when he gets up real close to her and he's telling her about his dream, there's this yearning, tender violin in the background, and I'm like, are D&D rooting for Littlefinger to get with Sansa? I really felt like that's what the scene was trying to communicate, that we're supposed to be supportive is not the word, but empathetic to his desires for her.
Are we supposed to think that maybe Sansa is interested in this kind of outcome? She did once want to be the queen, so it's like part of her drawn to this scenario, even if it's not ideal.
it's hard to read because there's times where it's like it feels like she's attracted to him in some capacity, or I don't know. I can't read it. Like Sansa is so baffling to me as a character now. I just don't know where her headspace is.
I think that she knows that he wants her mom, not her. So she's a little bit like. I think she also feels a little bit weird about it as well.
It's fine if she feels weird about it. I just don't know how to read that scene of what she is feeling. What he's feeling is clear. I don't know what she's feeling. I don't know what Sansa is thinking or feeling at any time.
The show writers don't like to write Sansa well, so I feel like that's a product of that.
I think the Littlefinger thing is a problem because he's almost like a monster in a horror movie, right? The fact that we haven't known his motives and what he's been up to makes him a more interesting character. And to lay them out in such an uninteresting, bland way, just undermines any of his interest for me.
Why does Sansa, who explicitly tells Jon why would I ever trust Littlefinger? That's the stupidest decision ever. Actually trust him over Jon.
We see in the next scene that she doesn't seem to.
Except for the glance they exchange.
Well, I think the glance... we're getting into it. But the glance, I think, suggested that she had gotten a one-up over him, that she had thwarted his plans somehow.
Not according to Sophie Turner.
Oh, did she have a different reading of that?
According
John
to
just
Sophie
took her
Turner,
legitimate claim. That's what happened in that scene.
She says
he's
Sansa's
so
mad.
naive. Yeah.
I didn't read any anger into that. She seemed pleased and proud of Jon, but the feedback from the cast and some of is that no, she's pissed that she's not getting her just desserts because she brought the army that saved him.
I feel like at some point along the way here, they became so gun shy about how to write Sansa that they don't know what to do at all. It feels like they just have they're so scared of people being mad about Sansa that they just have no idea how to take her.
There was
unnecessary rapes into your show.
There was two or three weird glances between her and Littlefinger that it was it didn't emote anything besides oh, this is what's happening. Oh, this is what's happening.
It was like an I told you so.
Right, because he was just oh, your name is Stark, you'll be able to rule. And she's like, dude, King of the North over here, Snow, the White Wolf. Done.
So yeah, last scene of Winterfell, the Lords of the North Vale army and the wildlings gather in Winterfell's hall to speak of the future of House Stark and the war with the others. The nobles are wary of the wildlings and their intention to return home to endure winter's arrival. Jon warns them that this storm can't simply be endured and that they will need to fight. Lyanna Mormont speaks up, shaming the other Northern Lords for their inaction and pledging herself to the King in the North. Standing before them, Lords Manderly, Glover, and Kerwin admit their mistakes and pledge to Jon. Shouts of the King in the North ring in Winterfell as the gathered forces unanimously accept Jon as their leader. King in the North, King in the North. Yeah, that happened.
Lyanna Mormont needs her own fucking sitcom. Just saying.
That speech was so good.
I want to know her adventures. She's awesome.
Unleash the Casey.
Unleash.
All right, so I have a big problem with this. I don't understand the show's logic in making Jon king, other than the fact that he's a guy, and the possibility that maybe because Sansa was married to Ramsay, that they might have some issues with that. That's my only thing. But
so you solved it.
No, that's not a good enough reason.
But in their world, isn't it?
Yeah. But we're already we already have a huge cast of queens and female rulers. It doesn't make sense that Sansa doesn't even come up as a potential.
Yeah.
We're grasping at potential reasons why this isn't an actual plot point in this episode, where it seems like it should be. There is actually some contestation between Jon and Sansa early in the episode that's fairly friendly, but it should be actually a question of she is a legitimate Stark, even though she is a woman, and he is a bastard. There should be some contestation between who is going to be a figurehead, at least. It should be at least discussed.
They're the only major house remaining that doesn't have a woman leading them, it seems, at this point. Everybody else went the lady route.
Wonder if it's the fact that she's been married off to enemy houses that is causing more of a problem for Sansa than the fact that she's a woman.
But
that's the whole problem.
You're inventing that reason. Like, none of this is brought up in the show at all.
This should have been brought up. If there's a problem with Sansa being queen, it should be discussed. But it's not. It just seems like, oh, because Jon's a Stark and he looks like a Stark, we gotta get behind Jon Stark or Jon Snow, whatever they want to call him. I feel like D&D are like, they just love Jon so much. And don't get me wrong, I love Jon too, but they just are.
I think what the real issue here is that they set up in the conversation between Jon and Sansa that they basically were both pushing for each other and everything was kind of amicable. And that probably should have come up in the hall there, but the other lords just sort of took it and they just kind of let it go.
They could have been like, Sansa, Queen of the North, and then somebody could have been like, no, Jon, King of the North. She should be the first choice. She should be the first thought, and she's the one who won the fucking battle. Like,
yeah, but that would feel. I think it would feel more.
No, she was the one who won the battle, and that's the part that bugs me most. Is that Jon blundered his way through this whole thing, and it's clear, even from an outsider's point of view, it is clear that Sansa won them the battle. Jon did not.
Because she fucked Jon over.
But nobody knows that.
Yeah, nobody knows that.
And the fact is, comes down to the writing, and the thing that I found really frustrating earlier in the last episode with Sansa in the tent with Jon when she's like, why didn't you ask my opinion? I was like, I don't understand why they had to write Sansa, one, as a nag, but also, again, as a doormat. Why can't she, raise the question of saying, why can't I be the queen? Like, why can't she put herself forward against Jon? Why does it have to be she steps down so that he can step forward? She does it graciously with a smile on her face, and it's like, I feel like the Sansa right now, who seems like she is trying to do what's best for herself, would, I don't know, make a case for herself as a leader in some capacity.
But it seems like that's not what she wants. If the scene ended with her as the queen in the North, then you could have some of that conflict. But I think if she puts herself forward, or someone else does, and then you have this kind of argument, queen, and then it ends up, no, but we want Jon, I think that's actually more insulting to her character. So, unless they were actually going to make her the queen, bringing her up as the queen, maybe, just would have looked worse. I don't know.
Sansa's not a real person, okay? What she wants doesn't matter. She's a character, and the way she's written as a character just doesn't make any sense at this point. And the fact that she's the same stand aside, let everyone tramp over her, not speak up for herself, not be active, it just...
I wish, like I suggested last episode, that she had been written in a way where she was trying to take control, and where her actions made sense, and she was trying to consolidate power. But yeah, here, she's poorly written. It's that simple. She's poorly written, and they just don't know what to do with her.
One hypothetical explanation, not a very good explanation, but is that they're just trying to maintain some kind of ambiguity going into next season. Because if they just wrapped it up and, Sansa's queen and everybody agrees, then there would be nothing to wrap up there next season. To spend a few episodes figuring things out with Jon discovering that he's actually Targaryen and he's not a Stark. And
what I thought basically with the reasoning, not really in the story because I don't try to go that route, but overall, why would D&D pick Jon over Sansa? I think honestly because story-wise, at least in in the show, Jon's story has gotten a lot of focus, just like the other now monarchs have gotten a lot of focus. Cersei has had a lot of focus. Dany, of course, has gotten a lot of focus. And with Sansa, it's honestly, they haven't given Sansa enough credit like she gets in the books. Mm-hmm. They don't give her enough time in the Vale. Honestly, taking Sansa North was the worst idea. I would have rather she just had this little intrigue plot in the Vale, and it just kind of shows her political savviness growing and growing, rather than, marry her off and then all of a sudden she's just kind of baggage at that point.
I think you hit on an important point there, Paul, because there are a few characters in the show who've definitely felt more like protagonists than others, while in the books everyone is sort of on an equal playing field. You can say based on how many chapters they get, someone might be more important than others, but Sansa and Arya and Jon and Daenerys are fairly level through most of the books, I would say. But in the show, Jon is clearly the hero of the northern branch of the story. So when Sansa shows up into his story, she becomes a supporting character, not her own character anymore, it feels like to me.
Yeah.
And that's true of a lot of the show where, Brienne had her own story arc, and now she's been subsumed into Sansa and Jon's story, right? Like, she doesn't exist as her own character because...
Where the fuck is she?
Moat Kaelin, maybe?
Still?
Never consistent.
She's on the rowing team with...
Finally, he gets another... Yeah,
Finding Gendry.
Yeah.
2 points that I would have is, one, I agree with Paul in the idea that Sansa should have stayed at the Vale and consolidated power, and then after, like, you see her power and intrigue and understanding bring the forces north and not have Littlefinger bring them north. And then, to Katie and Casey's point, if Sansa would have been built a stronger storyline 5 or 6 episodes and moving towards a goal and more overt, it would have made an understanding that she more deserves power. And, like, I know this is probably not a fair question, but does Jon even want the throne at this point? Or, like, does he even care?
Well, the last leadership position he had ended
He
up
wants
really
to
well
fight
for him.
the others. That's basically it.
Yeah, I think that's really only his concern. I feel like Sansa doesn't really understand that part of that's going on.
And no one in the room seemed to get it either, did they? When he said, like, there's the real enemy, and maybe explain what you meant.
Well, I hate to say it, I don't think it has anything to do with the fact that she's a woman and he's a man. I don't think that's why they've put Jon ahead. The writers have put Jon ahead because I think they, whether or not for the right reasons, they clearly don't have an issue with putting women in power, obviously. But they like Steven said, Small Paul said, it's clear that to some degree Sansa has been subsumed by Jon's character arc. He's a more important character in this situation, and he's been leveraged as the main fighter against the others, the main leader of the Northern Coalition, what have you. He just, for them, at least at this point, he is the main person.
I get that, but it just doesn't go along with the storyline that they've given, like the background that they've given Westeros.
I agree.
They've just made her reactive again and again, and that's what I'm tired of, is that she's not, like, she has maybe 1 or 2 very active moments, and the rest of her is just reacting to other people's actions. And yeah, I mean, that's a lot of her character in the book, but in the book it's different because she's largely a POV character that we see other people acting around her. It's much harder to do that on a TV show where it's like you need a character visually to be doing something to be fairly interesting. And yeah, I mean, like, you guys are saying that just because, like, when we see Dany being, like, we consider her like a strong female character here, she's basically that way because the show gives her dragons. They don't give her that much else to do but have a big speech every now and then and have her dragons spit fire. Like, they don't like to develop female characters.
No, right. Dany's very one-dimensional.
Well, I feel like Dany, and it's the same with Book Dany, like, feels like they don't need to develop her because she's the rightful ruler of Westeros. She believes that, like, the way George writes her, like, makes us want to believe, like we need her over in Westeros. Like, all her work over in Meereen is bullshit, and we don't need it because she needs to come over to Westeros and rule. And she believes that everything, there should be no slavery, there should be no, injustice and everything, so long as she is the ruler.
Yeah, and I think they've shown that somewhat of her development in Arena. It's the same kind of thing in the book, right, where she kind of reconciles the conqueror side of Dany and the peaceful peacemaking side of Dany, and it's not as well developed here, but that's what they're going for. I think the show struggles in general to develop any character. Like, we look at Jaime, and he hasn't done much of anything character-wise for a couple seasons, hasn't changed much. We don't really get his motivations either. It's mostly like he loves Cersei and wants to get back to her, and that's it. Tyrion, like, what has his character been for the last 2 seasons? It's just drunk Tyrion doling out witticisms. That's literally, he's pretty one-dimensional too. Like, he hasn't done much of anything, and I have no notion of what his arc is. I think the show just struggles to give these characters any kind of arc at this point.
I think you've hit the nail right on the head there, Zach.
Yeah, we haven't talked about it. Yeah.
Yeah, about the fact that he and Danny have had, 2 conversations in the entire show, but he believes in her.
Yeah, this is another case again where I feel like they're doing these crescendo moments that feel so out of nowhere and so unearned, where they have this moment and no, Tyrion screwed everything up. Why is he your hand? He never did anything beneficial, and you guys still don't know each other. You never had a moment where you could build this relationship, but yeah, it's
You could have built it, but instead you pissed away Tyrion by having him trying to get Grey Worm and Miss Sandy to tell jokes for a full season. What the hell?
And drink.
Just saying, I can see the YouTube comments now. Well, if you don't like the show, why are you watching it? We do like the show, you dumbasses. We're
Why
just
do you guys
critiquing
rate
it
it
so we
so
can make
high?
it better.
Yeah, surprisingly, people do, and they're mean.
We nitpick because we care.
As Steven said earlier, there's multiple levels you can enjoy and you can talk about this on. There's the level where you're just simply enjoying the drama of it, the sequences, the moments, and the fact that it's a TV show with a lot of really cool stuff in it. But
I love the show because I care about it, and I want it to be done in the best way possible.
Yeah.
And so when they fall short, it really, really spurs me, and because I know it can be better. I want it to be good.
It's fun to complain. Let's be real.
I think we're analyzing the show, and when we analyze, it comes across as like biting criticism, right? Like, so Zach, to your point, you use the term one-dimensional, and I think some of the best characters on the show are actually really one-dimensional characters, and perhaps the best example of this is Arya, right? Like, Arya is just a revenge story, plain and simple, and occasionally the drama comes from her feeling conflicted about it. But otherwise, it's just, I'm out for revenge. Here we go. Like, that's all she's been chasing for seasons now. So we don't have to worry about complication. Sansa has had a lot of back and forth, a lot of changing circumstances and complications. And that's harder to keep straight and keep right. And the show probably suffers from having a gigantically bloated cast and a big story to try to tell to do anything other than very surface level characterizations.
Do you think that also kind of plays into how everybody loves these huge action set pieces where it's just go, 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 and you don't really have to think, and you just see like this visual explosion of colors and fighting and gore and violence?
So I think, Jeff, like the best example for that is one of the most popular characters is Dany, right? Like Dany is pretty paper thin in a lot of ways. Like her sophisticated victim into active agent really was lost in the first 2 seasons. You know, basically she got into Liberator speaking in a stilted I am the queen way for the last 4 seasons, and we haven't really left that mode since. I wasn't on the episode, but the one where Blood of My Blood, where she gets on the dragon giving a speech in Dothraki, like I couldn't roll my eyes harder, and I was shocked by how many reviews I listened to who were saying like that was a great scene, that was amazing. It's like, well, like maybe a simple storyline where you don't have 5,000 pages of book material to back up like the inner motivations of all these characters, like a more straightforward tale with big set pieces works a lot better.
All right, would anyone like to say any final points on Sansa on the north on any of this before we keep going?
I thought we were just talking about Dany.
I thought we'd moved to Dany by now.
I'm talking about characterization. That's all.
Yeah, there's some of these points are broader than one scene.
I did make a note when John was saying that the enemy that's coming won't wait out the storm. He's the one that brings the storm. That was an echo when Euron said he's the one that brings the storm. So maybe Euron's the big enemy.
Does Euron say that in the show, though?
When he's confronting on the bridge.
Oh, yes, right. Yes.
Yeah, he's like, I am the storm.
Yeah, but that's all sacrilege because he's talking about the storm god and all that.
Let's go to the second half of King's Landing, where Jaime and Bronn return from the Riverlands to find King's Landing on fire still. Jaime arrives in the Red Keep to witness the coronation of Queen Cersei Lannister, the first of her name. Cersei is the queen.
How the fuck did that happen? They didn't have a council?
They're all dead, man.
They're all burned.
Who would challenge her?
But set it up as that she is queen by right of conquest, not rightful queen.
I don't think it's about it's not like it's not conquest. She didn't conquer anything. It's a coup. Like she's in the capital and she displaced the legitimate government, and killed all the internal opposition. Like, Cersei doesn't control the Riverlands or the Westerlands or the Vale. Like, none of that is under... This is all in the capital.
She has zero power base outside of King's Landing and what's immediately around her.
But even the minor, like, whatever, like, group is there of lords that...
The Crown Landers,
I'm guessing that she's going to, like, give out massive lands to, but, like, they're not hers yet. This is a big step.
This is just furthermore of Westeros falling into total chaos. Like, this is anarchy now. There is no rightful government. Like, what king does the Vale recognize now? Are they going to throw in with Jon Snow as King of the North and the Mountain?
I mean, they were all there, so might as well.
Right? Like, but that's weird. That's a strange thing to do. Basically, it sets it up that there's a massive power vacuum for Daenerys to fill in the next season. That's probably the real point of this.
Did it bother anyone else that Varys wasn't the one that killed Kevin or Pycelle?
Yeah.
No, why does that matter? Why do we need that to happen? Why are people bothered by that?
Because of how big of a game player that Varys is, I think it takes away from it by taking that away from him.
He's consolidating two powerful houses. How is that not a player of the game?
He just orchestrated the biggest alliance in the history of all kinds of stuff.
So, anything else on King's Landing Part 2?
The mood of it is really troubling. Like, it's a super dark scene. Like, it feels like almost evil, or at least tyrannical, despotic, right? Like, this is...
Yeah.
Cersei's going to be a horrible queen, and not just, like, the inefficient way that we're used to. Like, it feels like there will be blood in the streets.
There was any good left in Cersei at this point. Like, before that, it's gone now.
Yeah.
For all the fact that she is basically the villain now... She was looking, like, amazing. Just sitting on the throne, like, she looked like an amazing villain.
She is the super villain, it feels like. It really, that really came across.
The super villain who has no allies and is totally going to get squashed when
she'll either
three
be killed,
major houses land.
She'll either be killed by Arya or this giant, unstoppable fleet of Daenerys that's coming. It was interesting that Jaime so devoted to Cersei even looks a little horrified by this turn of events.
Was that horrified or just like interested or like disgusted?
He seemed troubled. Like, this is unsettling.
He leaves, comes back. The Sept's like destroyed. House Tyrell is near extinction. Tommen is dead.
I think Jaime is going to be the first ever Kingslayer / Queenslayer.
Oh, okay. You think he's going to kill? You think he's going to kill Cersei?
Double combo.
I know.
Well, he's a popular
for the win
card choice.
Right. It actually makes a lot of sense now, because if she starts, if she basically says to burn King's Landing before Daenerys can take it, then he'll repeat history and kill her again.
Because Cersei, she in that action, she kind of did what Ares wanted to do and just blow people up for the heck of it.
I have a question though. Like, you know how the wildfire, we got that, like, a little bit of it before with Bran's visions. Do you think that maybe that whole scene with Jaime killing the king could be a flashback callback, like flashback future prophecy of Jaime?
That's why he looked like he does right now. It was a mixture of past and present or future.
Dun dun dun.
Well, what if he fails to kill her? She blows up the Red Keep, and that's why there's snow falling into the Red Keep in Dany's vision in the House of the Undying.
Is Jaime going to become Lord Lannister next season, or is he going to become the Lord Commander again, or nobody cares?
I don't think they care about Casterly Rock at all.
More seriously, I think the fact that things are getting so chaotic in Westeros, these questions are just difficult to answer in any kind of reality, right? Like, Jaime might be he's essentially the Lord of Casterly Rock now, but that doesn't mean anything, so we can move forward. There's no Tyrells left. We can not worry about that. We can move forward because there's going to be bigger fish to fry in the coming season.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah. Like, they're going to be, there's going to be an invasion of essentially a foreign queen and monsters made of ice coming over the wall. Let's not worry about titles.
Whoa. How are they getting over the wall?
Or the wall goes down.
Gear, magic.
Grappling hooks, whatever.
Yeah.
Oh.
Freezing the base.
Cersei planted wildfire underneath the wall.
Well, I mean, there's plenty of reasons why they could blow the wall up. They could blow the non-existent Horn of Joramun, and they could use Bran's ice mark. Anything else? No,
we're trying to stretch in there.
Is Cersei going to be the only one opposing Dany now? Is everybody else Team Dany and help?
It feels like.
I mean, I couldn't see like Jon and Sansa being like, "Oh yeah," because like, what fighting force do they have?
Well, I don't know. I feel like the North's kind of like their own thing. Like that. This is why I wanted to be the War of Three Queens instead of two queens and one king. But like the North, they hate the Lannisters. They hate the Targaryens because of what they think they did to Lyanna. So and what they actually did to Brandon and Rickard. So. I feel like there's not going to be, like, at one point it might be the Lannisters in the North against Dany for some reason.
Which is why Dany dumped Dario so that she can marry Jon. It's very transparent. Just boo.
Boo.
I think they're going to be more happy with her dragons killing the White Walkers than they are with her past about who did what to what family.
Mm-hmm.
True, I don't really see them holding a grudge for like, oh, your dad burned someone alive. But
yeah, but how fast are we gonna get the others coming over? Like, I feel like we have like the 1.5 seasons left-ish.
Yeah, it's so weird for me to think about what's gonna happen next, right? Because if it's as simple as they deal with Cersei and then go fight the others, that's not interesting, right? That's
I guess Euron is hanging around somewhere waiting to do something.
Maybe
murder people.
I could see Euron throwing in with Cersei.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
He's gonna be like.
I thought he wanted the Dragon Queen.
Yeah, but when he realizes that door is closed, he looks elsewhere.
Yeah.
So, speaking of the parallel of the Aegon's conquest, would it be kind of funny if Dany just rolls in and burns all the ships before Euron can do anything?
That'd be pretty good.
We've talked about it, but yeah, let's talk a little bit more about the Dany sequence before we wrap it all up here. So, in the Bay of Dragons, Daenerys meets with Daario and informs him that he will be staying in Meereen to keep the city in order. Daario, despite his reluctance to leave the Dragon Queen, accepts the order. Dany goes to Tyrion and confesses her complete lack of feeling for Daario despite his devotion to her, and Tyrion says he wasn't the first man to love her and won't be the last. Dany names Tyrion her Hand of the Queen, Tyrion getting emotional at the return of his old post. Sometime later, having been joined by Varys and the Tyrell and Dornish forces, Dany's navy sets out for Westeros as Drogon, Viserion, and Rhaegal fly above her massive invasion fleet.
Do the Dothraki just stand guard the entire time?
The Unsullied?
Yeah, suck me.
Later, Jeff.
What do the dragons do? Where do they sleep?
I would assume that the fleet hugs the coast so that they can just stay on land when they need to.
Well, it's a little known fact that dragons are like sharks, so they have to keep on moving and able to stay alive.
That's why they don't sleep. They just
Right. They have to be in constant motion.
I didn't know that about dragons, Matt. Thank you for pointing.
Oh, yeah, you're welcome.
Bringing knowledge.
It is Dragon Week, right? So
Dragon. Yeah. Dragon.
Did anybody think that when Dany was first talking to Tyrion, it was going to be Tyrion gives the whole like, man, it really sucks when you have to let somebody go, and then Dany just looks at him and be like, yeah, you can't come too.
I thought she was going to be like, I have a gift for you. Oh, here's a brand new dragon.
That would have been even more overkill than what they did.
Yeah.
Right?
I thought it was touching. Like, I thought, like, Tyrion's reaction, it got me a little bit. Tyrion is like a highly confident person who is constantly dismissed because of his disability and his, kind of position in society. But he's highly competent, yet no one has recognized him for his competence except for Varys. So for someone to turn around and say, you are a competent advisor and I want you to lead my government, like that's like he's been looking for acceptance his entire life, and this is someone providing it to him in very clear fashion.
Father gave him the same confidence,
but only as a token. He knew that he had no one else to do it, and it was temporary. And I don't think
I'm busy.
Right.
Go do my job.
And his father didn't make him Hand. He made him Acting Hand and took it away from him and then dismissed him and put him off to the side.
It's very debatable how competent and effective he's been this season. He's just been
Exactly.
kind of making mistakes and drinking and joking and not doing anything.
Exactly.
Right.
In the abstract sense, Steven, your point makes sense, and I can understand that would be a cool build-up. But again, this is the problem, is they don't justify that. They don't build up any action on Tyrion's part that would make sense for Dany to trust him and for him to have any faith in her, really.
The character's supposed to be the smart, confident guy who doesn't get anything. We don't see him being smart and confident. Like, that's the problem, right? Like, as a character, we understand who he is. As, like, an actor performing a role in Meereen, not Peter Dinklage, but Tyrion as an active force, like, we don't see what he's supposed to be. If you understand what I'm saying, the distinction there?
It's on us. It's on us to see who he's supposed to be, not who they show him as.
Yeah.
So like the whole Kinvara thing, is that all done now? Because she didn't bring any red priests or anyone that needs religion with her. So is that done? Is that just a means to an end?
I think it will resurface in some capacity, but it was more just to like placate the people and get them kind of gung-ho Dany Queen of Fire.
Like, does she even know about the White Walkers? Has she ever like received any information about the Long Night or anything in that kind of context? Is she gonna even fucking know what's going on when she hears about it?
Of course I know, right? Like, that's never come up in Meereen that the White Walkers are coming.
Yeah, it'll come up at some point, obviously, so...
Instant role reversal. You know nothing, Daenerys Targaryen, says Jon Snow.
King Jon Snow, please.
King
Formalities. We must keep them.
King Jon Sand Snow Stark Targaryen.
The Winter King.
The first of them.
Why did he get the name John, by the way? Why did they name him John?
I have no.
Because
Aaron.
Ares Stark would have been like.
But why would Lyanna name him
dad.
John Aaron?
Well, what if Lyanna named him Rhaegar or something? Ned can't do that.
Right.
So you would
That's
have had to
probably what
rename him.
happened. It's probably some Targaryen name. That's his real name.
Isn't that what like she said? It's like his name is like Aemon something Targaryen.
Aegon.
Aegon? I'll take it.
Aegon.
Take this child. It is Aegon.
That's really
It
stupid.
may be Targaryen.
So, anything else? It was cool to see her fleet sailing. She's going to Westeros. Another meta moment with Tyrion. How about we talk about how the fact that this is actually happening?
Finally!
Yeah, Tyrion, isn't that what he actually says to her?
That's literally what
He winks at the camera too.
Oh, that's
This is
last
actually happening. You have your army, you have your ships, and we're going.
How about the fact that like the Tyrell and Dornish alliance is based upon hating the Lannisters, but Dany has a Lannister as the hand of the king of the queen.
Yeah, well, she's probably like, this.
It's not
this
a hate
one's a
of
good
the
one.
Lannisters, it's a hate of Cersei Lannister.
And Tyrion hates Cersei Lannister.
Tyrion didn't blow up the set.
Anything else on Game of Thrones Season 6 that anyone would like to say before we wrap it up for another season of Game of Thrones here at DragonCast?
After hours of complaining, that was a great episode and a really good season.
Yeah, I mean, in spite of all the shit that we throw at it, I like watching Game of Thrones.
We
especially.
do it because we care.
It was a really good episode and a really good season, and I'm actually really sad it's over because I don't get to do this for a while.
I'm definitely less stressed out watching the show versus the last few seasons where I don't think I was enjoying it. But at this point, all bets are off. It's much easier just to sink in and let it wash over you.
Is anyone quitting the show?
No.
All right,
Cross that
we're all
Rubicon.
still in. All right.
Just
People
got
that are
that.
quitting already quit.
Right.
In for a penny, in for a pound now.
That's true.
With that said, when do we get the Winds of Winter?
We just got it, Matt. We just got it last
in
night.
book form,
Yeah.
friends.
Dan and Dave just wanted to say that they wrote it first.
Well,
Yeah, they're like,
Hey guys,
we gave it to you first.
Hey guys.
say
The
Casey.
Winds of Winter are gonna be great this year.
Oh, Jesus
Boom.
Christ.
Casey, don't
Boom.
remind us.
I think the show will be over before we get the book.
I think that's probably true.
I don't think that's true. At the very
I
least, it
stopped-
feels like the show is 2 more seasons, right? So that's 2 years. Is it going to take them 2 more years?
Like, optimistically, I say fall 2018 is when we'll get the book.
Hope is for
Okay,
the-
so the series, they're saying they're cutting down their season numbers. Why? Why wouldn't they just do one? They blew through
I
this
guess
season.
Because they
Bored as shit, and they
They
want to
feel
move
like they
on.
need more than 10, but less than 20, which makes sense. They definitely do not need 20.
Yeah, but they're like talking like 7 and 6. It's like, okay,
Breaking Bad
you
and,
guys can't just do a 13 season final.
We're just gonna
season?
A lot of prominent shows have done this for their final seasons.
Mad Men, which
Breaking
fucking
Bad,
sucked.
Lost does it. Yeah, they're
Lost, like a lot. Like,
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Okay, so we just brought up 3 of the most awful things ever.
right.
Splitting up a final season.
Breaking Bad? I don't think that one.
Lost
that
is
one was good.
Lost is a gem.
Well, oh no.
And
That's
as
how,
Adam just pointed out in
that's
the
how-
chat, it allows them to drag it out, make
That's
more
how
money
D&D
off the show.
That's how D&D are gonna end the season.
money.
John's gonna wake up. He'll be in Winterfell. It'll be like the day before Robert Baratheon arrives. He'll be like, "Oh, it was all a dream."
You know what?
I
I
will
wouldn't mind.
fucking murder people.
I don't
I will
doubt it.
murder people if that's what happens. If they pull like JR from Dallas.
That in no way could possibly happen.
Just in case D&D actually get murdered, we're gonna say Varley believes that in his mind, so that way this cannot be used as evidence against him in a court of law.
That would be fun if our podcast got to be a piece of evidence.
They have to listen to the entire podcast.
They can do a true crime podcast about our podcast. That'd be
Man.
Yeah,
I
they
can't
do
wait.
a lot of crime.
Next, now on the
podcasts.
dollop, a American history podcast about a bunch of fucks that
The
are fanatic
expert
about books.
witness was actually a podcast episode where Varley actually said he would murder people.
A Bostonian went mad and killed 2 creators of the show.
All right, well, that's DragonCast, everybody. This is it. So thank you all very much for joining me for all this. For all of you who have been on a bunch, thank you very much. Especially shout-outs to Adam, Matt, and Katie for being the only people who went on all 10 DragonCasts. So kudos to you guys for doing that. So yeah, thank you.
Well, congrats to Adam because
Yeah, you pulled it out.
Yeah. That's commitment.
Indeed.
And thanks, Zach, for hosting all these.
Well, 8 of them.
And
Thanks,
keeping up with
Zach.
everything.
Well,
and editing.
Yeah,
for
really.
editing most
Thanks, Zach.
I'm happy to.
Yeah.
You guys make it so easy to edit. It's no
So easy.
whatsoever.
I'm sure this one will be the
Those are
easiest.
lies.
Oh
Yeah, 3 hours is no problem, right?
Right.
And
And that's chill.
yeah, and thanks everyone for joining us, every listener for joining us on the DragonCast journey. I'm sure that it's been an interesting ride for you too. If you would like to yell at us or otherwise comment on the show, you can do so at the VOK Podcast WordPress, on the Podcast of Ice and Fire forums, on YouTube, on Twitter, on Facebook, on Tinder, on Grindr, on Blitzen, on all of them.
On Grindr soon, on all gays or the Gays Night Out
look forward to
podcast
that.
too.
Since DragonCast is over, would anyone like to shout out any upcoming podcasts that will be happening?
Witcher.
well, Gays Night Out.
There you go.
Yeah, Gays Night Out. That's gonna be fun. We're gonna have we're gonna be setting up a fake Grindr account and having messages written live on
You
the
can look
air.
forward to that content coming up.
So
Yes.
mean.
Oh, there's
It's-
gonna be so many dicks on that one.
Yeah, it's gonna be pretty awesome.
Would any other podcasts, people? So you
I have a few in the works, but I don't want to get specific until they are scheduled and getting ready.
fair enough.
Someday Twin Peaks will come back.
All right, cool. And
Oh,
sometime-
and Battlestar is coming back as well.
Battlestar's coming back
Sometime Harry Potter will come out, and then we'll do the next Harry Potter after that.
eventually.
Yeah.
Look
Yeah,
forward to that.
and actually, last weekend we did Godfather 1 full movie commentary, and I guess the next day they did Godfather 2.
Got
I wasn't
Godfather
part of that,
to look
but-
forward to as well. And you said Witcher, Paul. Is that happening still? Katie?
Well,
Fine.
Katie's doing the video game, and I'm gonna be doing the books.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So
I need to read that.
I'm probably gonna do. I'm just probably gonna wait till Katie does the Witcher video games, and then
I'm sad because I'm not going to be able to be on that because I have not played the full game, and I've been on every video game VOK before now. So
We can wait.
no, it's
I
alright.
haven't-
It's fine.
how long?
I read
can
the
we
first
wait,
book,
though,
it's
Katie? How long can we wait?
I don't know. I haven't played the DLC and I can't afford them, so I don't know.
Maybe I'll have time. Yeah, we'll see.
I'm replaying the game right now, so I have a solid 200 hours left. So we're
It's so long. It's so long.
And the DLC is just as
That's
long.
what she
You
said.
Play both of them.
I gotta say, though,
And he.
but a new game plus is like 20 times faster because you have all your shit. So like you just slaughter through people.
We'll see. It'll be soon.
And the linear rebreed is coming back shortly.
Yes. Yeah, it is. So is the psycho serial killer one? We're actually trying to figure out who we want to talk about for the next one.
You guys are running out of serial killers. No, there's so
That's
many.
That's why Matt has to kill D&D.
No, we're trying to actually do people that like don't have current survivors and stuff like that. So
So
we're
Matt's
looking for
disqualified.
historical stuff. If you guys want to, throw in any like ideas.
But yeah, that is it for DragonCast. So thank you guys again very much, and we'll be back with more VOKs surely to come. So that's it. Bye bye everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Don't call me Shirley.